Bonjour tout le monde. Hi everyone. Hi Greg.
Hello.
Nice to have you. I will say just a few words in French and I'll come back with you after if you don't mind.
No worries.
Donc, bonjour tout le monde. On est aujourd'hui avec Greg Dillon de GreatDrams. Donc, aujourd'hui, un lunch and learn comme d'habitude pour ceux qui sont habitués. On a des questions. Si vous avez des questions, on va avoir le temps de lui poser. On va passer à travers un peu qui il est, qu'est-ce qu'il fait, puis aussi les 5 produits qu'on a en importation privée de GreatDrams. Donc, encore une fois, vous avez la possibilité dans les commentaires de poser vos questions. Donc, sur YouTube ou sur Facebook, n'hésitez pas. Et pour la première fois, on est aujourd'hui aussi sur LinkedIn. Donc, si vous avez des questions à partir de LinkedIn, n'hésitez pas. So, again, welcome to this Lunch and Learn. Greg Dillon from GreatDrams. Nice to have you.
Wow, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So, it's a pleasure. So, we'll have like 30-something minutes together today. And I will start really simply by asking you who you are. What do you do?
That's a good one. A nice open one to start with. And thanks to everyone also for taking the time to join this and watch. And if you do have questions, please do ask. I'm always open and happy to answer anything. My name is Greg, co-founder actually with my wife of GreatDrams. We've been doing this for 12 years now, I think. Yeah, 12 years, April just gone. And so we are independent bottlers. So most of you, I'm assuming, will know what that means, but in case not, we do everything apart from distillation within the whiskey production kind of side of things. So we'll be buying and working with the most interesting and unique distilleries and casks that we find from distilleries all around the world. Predominantly Scotland, because that's easier to get to than a lot of other places. But also we have whiskey from England, Ireland, America, India, all over the place. And last year, the World Whiskies Awards named us World's Best, which was quite nice.
Nice.
Thanks. Yeah, it's a very heavy trophy. We quite liked it. It's on display up in the Lego distillery upstairs. And yeah, we're very, very proud of that. And we didn't expect it either, so it's made it even better and made the party afterwards even better too.
Yeah.
Yeah, although I was really frightened of dropping it because it's glass. Yeah, my wife and I started this originally. GreatDrams.com was a whiskey blog, and then it grew into myself writing a book all about Scotch whiskey. And then it was actually at the launch of the book where my wife said to me, well, you've got the website, you've got the, oh, there it is. Wow, good effort. It was actually about 2 minutes after this photo was taken. She said, well, why don't you have your own whiskey? And then I was like, all right, then. And so we did it together. We've done every single release together since. And I'm the one who is normally in front of the camera and doing all the kind of showman stuff and hosting the events, and Kirsty just makes everything work basically behind the scenes. It's probably the best way as well. She doesn't necessarily like hosting things, and I don't necessarily like doing all of the other stuff, so we work quite well as a team like that, which is nice. Yeah. And yeah, so we release limited edition whiskies throughout the year. In the UK, we have a release schedule that kind of roughly tracks with launching new releases around March time, September time, and November time each year. And for our export partners, and for export customers in general, we can release at any time, and we create whiskies. Traditionally, we'd create ones which are exclusive to our partners around the world. So we do a lot of export to like Japan, China, Andorra, and we have done a few in Australia as well over the years. But we essentially will be creating these beautiful whiskies, releasing them around the world, and we do win a lot of gold and double gold medals as well, which is quite nice. We like shiny things. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
That is awesome. You're talking about different type of whiskey. Is it all single cask, or you do some blends also for some market?
Both, yeah. So we have predominantly it's single casks, but we then also do blends. So we will actually do. We have what's called Founder's Choice, which is our as close as we'd ever get to having a kind of core product. And that's mostly available just in the UK, but we do ship internationally, of course. And that's a sherry cask matured blend of 5 different whiskey components, but it's still done in batches. So each batch will vary slightly, just the label stays the same. All from Speyside, absolutely beautiful, mellow whiskey, that one. And then at Christmas time, we release one called the GreatDrams Christmas Spirit, and that changes every year, but it's more likely to be a bit more smokier. But then we also do blends for private customers as well. Because sometimes they want to do quite cool blends and have more of a volume product, so we can create that. But aside from that, it's traditionally mostly single casks. Yeah.
Okay, nice. You talked about your book. If I bring that back here, so can you talk a bit about what's in there? It's like a tasting book, or it's more like a story book. What's in there?
It's more. I described it as I think the tagline reads "Conversational meander through the rich Scotch history," and so the idea was to talk how I talk, and not like super formal, not like the kind of the dusty books that sit on the shelf and you need a PhD to read them and understand them and that kind of thing. It's very much a relaxed way of thinking about Scotch, asking and answering questions that most people ask anyway, and then also focusing on 20 different distilleries through there, from the kind of past, so like heritage distilleries, present as in the newer ones, but then also the future. So at the time, I mean, this was published a few years ago now. Well, at the time, you'd have had the newer distilleries turning on, like King's Barnes and some of those guys. So they were featured in there as what's coming next in the industry. And it actually did really well. I had followed up with a book about Irish whiskey as well, but unfortunately the publisher went bankrupt. So we ended up releasing that just free of charge on the website. It's like, I've written it, you might as well have it. But I am in the process of writing another one at the minute, actually 2 different books at the minute. But I only started on a plane about a week ago, so it's very early days for those.
Great. Is the book still available? The first one, the Great Dillon?
I think it will be available in some places. It's but it was. I mean, it did very well initially, and then like most of these things, there's an arc to it. And nowadays, the content will be, all the stories will still be relevant and true. But most distilleries since then have kind of evolved their brands and their actual distilleries. So probably needs a refresh, if I'm honest.
A refresh, yeah. Interesting. So so maybe a personal question. What brings you to whiskey first? I mean, you're for sure you're in Scotland, so I imagine you it's something that you drink when you have 6 or 7 with your family, your dads but
we're actually based in England, near in a place called Cheshire, just south of Manchester. But I spend a lot of my time in Scotland. We're very close to the train station, so I'm always up and down to Glasgow and Edinburgh, and then from there off to different distilleries. But it's a good question, actually. So I've always had a kind of passion for it. When my father passed away 22 years ago now, but he was a whiskey drinker, and so it was always kind of in and around the house. And so when I was very fortunate in my early career to travel a fair amount with work, so I'd always be going through different airports or different countries, and I had this thing in my head that whiskey's cool, right? I should have some of this. And so I would buy bottles that either I'd never seen before or where I couldn't pronounce the label. And this is early days of being in the industry, like Auchentoshan or Lefroy or whatever. The easiest to get first time, right? So those kind of things I'd start buying and like having around, and gradually a little collection grew. I mean, it's now quite a reasonable collection. But the so that was kind of the intrigue part. But then I wasn't really in the industry at that point. But then working for design agencies, because my background's actually in marketing and brand strategy and brand creation. And so I was always a strategist in design agencies. And we landed at the agency I was in at the time, a big whiskey client, to help them release a new product into the world. And I loved every minute of it. Actually, I'll be mentioning that distillery later on, because it actually means a hell of a lot to me. And and that kind of piqued the interest of the story. The actual, obviously the whiskey itself is great, but the storytelling, the people, the mythology, even just being in dusty old warehouses. And I hate spiders, and they're everywhere in warehouses, but just being there and seeing the cobwebs, feeling the heat off the stills, was incredible. And it really kind of got my attention going. So with that, I gradually started to be more involved, wanting to work with those kind of brands. But then had an opportunity to, once I set up the website and once Kirsty was involved, like helping make things work, there's an opportunity to do more consulting within the industry. So I've worked with the smallest brands and the biggest brands as new product development or brand creation, or even liquid development. As by that I mean whiskey development and blends and stuff. And so that was always really exciting. And then through the writing element as well. So I still write for Whiskey Magazine, Liquor.com, The Whiskey Wash, all of these guys. And so through that, you kind of start to meet a lot of more people in the industry, and it only got more exciting and more interesting. And then when we started doing the bottling, it all just kind of fell into place. And it's been quite a ride, I won't lie to you. It's been good fun. It's hard work, hard work, but it is good fun. That's for sure.
Nice, awesome. And then, we have the chance to order now through the Passion Whisky Québec group 5 of these bottlings. So if you want, we can maybe go through each of them, and you can explain a little bit what it is and why you selected this cask or this product. So the first one here that I have, let's start with this one though. Let's start with More. So
I'm glad you started with that one, because that's the one that I just kind of was alluding to. So Ardmore was the very first Scotch whiskey distillery I ever went to.
Okay.
And this was when working on the first Scotch whiskey brand I ever worked on. Everything about it was firsts for me, and I absolutely loved it and fell in love with it. And so I was working on the Teacher's brand, Teacher's blended Scotch, if you're not familiar. The kind of smoky component and the biggest malt component within there is from Ardmore. And so that was a really cool lesson in how blends are created, but also how you have a heart malt, which is kind of what we normally would call it, within any blend, which is the dominant kind of malt component of any blend. And so going to this distillery, learning about William Teacher and how he built this whole company and the brand, and how Ardmore fitted in, and how, it's in a specific location, both for water, but transport, and all of this really cool stuff really got me excited about everything. And that's why Ardmore, we have a lot of casks from Ardmore, because I get very excited about it. And when the opportunity comes, like, yes, please, I will buy that. And so that kind of happens. And actually our very, very, very first release was from the Ardmore distillery. And that was specifically because it was the first one I'd ever gone to. And so this cask here that we've selected, it's ex-bourbon cask, distilled in 2018, so 2017, apologies. And this one, it's got that beautiful Highland smoke to it, but it's a soft vanilla citrusy smoke. It's not a kind of whack around the face of Lefroy level smoke. It's nice and balanced, really mellow, really easy drinking. It's got that sweet malt, that lemon zest, that light spice to it. It just has everything you want from an easygoing Highland smoky whiskey. So we'd describe it like a campfire smoke of sorts, with that fruity flavor profile underneath it, and full of energy and nice and vibrant as well. And we always try to get every whiskey down to 3 words, just for ease of communication. And so for this one, it was smoky, fresh, and energetic. They're the ones that kind of came to mind when going through the last batch of samples.
Awesome. It's fully matured in a bourbon cask only.
Correct.
So that's something nice too. We don't have so much now of these pure bourbon cask. It's always now sherry or anything on top of it.
Yeah, I mean, we do a lot of finishing in our kind of broader portfolio, but it's something special, isn't there, about a pure play first fill ex-bourbon cask. And I mean, my flavor preference swings depending on who I'm with, what time of day.
Yeah, for sure.
And like always have samples knocking around on my desk, just waiting to be tried. They're literally everywhere. It's quite mad.
Yeah.
And you can actually probably see behind me, there's a whole barrel of our archive bottles behind me as well. And so yeah, we do a lot of finishing using PX sherry predominantly. Actually, we don't really use Oloroso as much, but PX primarily, some Oloroso, and we also do use red wine and rum casks from time to time. But yeah, this one is first fill ex-bourbon, full maturation.
So you, as I understand, you buy cask and you also do your own second maturation or finish in your own warehouse, or you rent some warehouses somewhere that you...
Yes, we have space in different warehouses. They used to all be in one, and then during which, you know, at the time felt like a good idea, and then during COVID, actually, that was a strong learning that if everything's in one place and the entire staff get COVID, you're a little bit screwed. So then we moved everything into lots of different places, and from a risk perspective as well, it's better to do that. But yeah, they're in different warehouses. We won't check every cask every year. Doesn't really need to happen. But what we'll do is, when it feels like it's the right time for a cask to be entering our kind of release schedule, then we'll start checking the samples a bit more regularly and making sure it's all good. Sometimes if it's not developed enough, we'll just put it back in the queue and find one that is actually in the right kind of zone for bottling.
Yeah, nice. So let's go with the second one. Another one that we don't see a lot, Ben Rennes.
Yeah, and that's also a good point, actually, Eric, that you won't often find a cask from us which is from a big distillery. We do our best to, you know, bottle from the ones that are often a bit more interesting, but also less talked about and less present. So Ben Rennes is one that we love to bits, actually, and this one especially because this was our very first double gold medal at the San Francisco World Spirits Competition. And so this one, PX sherry cask matured, not full term. It was actually, I think it was 6 years old, and then a 5-year PX sherry cask. So essentially a double maturation of sorts. And with it is just, honestly, it's one of my favorite whiskeys we've ever released. And when oh yeah, it's awesome. And we so much so, there's always one behind me right here. There we go. The first one nearby, and always has the shiny things on there as well, because I like having that there. But there's always one nearby. Yeah, so Ben Rennes itself is a really, you know, interesting distillery. It's, you know, it uses worm tub cooling, so it's got that thicker, bolder spirit character anyway, and in the process that actually costs a lot more to do, so it's a bit more of a commitment to do that, and which we always love it when distilleries do that, to be honest. That's the kind of style of spirit that I personally really like. And then also as a whiskey itself, it's a Speyside whiskey that virtually no one's heard of, unless you're a real kind of whiskey drinker, like a whiskey person like us, sure. But from the wider consumer base, not really. And so when you see it and people go, oh, I've never heard of that, like, well, try it and see what you think. So with that kind of PX maturation, you'll get those big raisiny notes, dark chocolate, molasses. Kind of, it is rich, it's bold, it's really quite quite lovely actually. And that kind of spicy roasted nut note coming through, and then the finish is long and warming and just sublime. I'm a big fan of this one, as you can probably tell. And we describe this one in those 3 words again as dark, rich, and indulgent. Yeah,
nice. Up to now, with the 2 you describe, I have to pick both. I cannot choose.
But there's still 3 more.
In the order, in the group order already, there are many people that already understand that point, and I have many people in the group who order 5, one of each of these products. So
brilliant.
I think I'll be with this group too.
Good man, like your style, sir.
So, but yeah, let's go with the 3rd one then. Talk about that. So Girvan, it's something completely different. And I put the distillery there to see the difference between this and the previous one. It's totally different.
It's there's no direct comparison really between a malt distillery like Ben Rinnes and then a grain distillery like Girvan, because grain distilleries are not ever really open to the public. They're more they produce a lot more volume. They use continuous distillation, so it's always on, apart from like 1 day a year where some of the parts get changed and it's cleaned and whatever. But the reality is this is big production sites. It's not batch production like your malt distilleries. And it is the Girvan distillery especially is one that, actually take a step back. The single grain category is often described as the whiskey industry people's whiskey, if that makes sense, because you don't see grain whiskey that often in the wild or in shops. You had Hay Club for a while there with David Beckham and Diageo. You then had a couple of others. Girvan back in 2015, was it? They released 3 whiskies from that distillery themselves, but it didn't really get the marketing push it needed to be a big thing. But we've always loved grain whiskey, and we've always really celebrated it and enjoyed it. And it's very rare that our range doesn't have a grain whiskey in there somewhere. Like the minute in the UK, we have a 20-year-old Invergordon Oloroso sherry cask, and I think it's a 15-year-old Girvan rum cask actually. And they're used for different things. So the rum cask is a show exclusive, so we don't have it on the website. You physically have to meet me in person to buy it at an event. We don't do, it's not like a widespread release. So we do something like that each year, and it's quite cool. Gets people talking about it anyway. But this one's a 16-year-old first fill ex-bourbon cask, and with that it brings out that gorgeous kind of toffee notes, the honey, the cereal, these vanilla notes as well. I don't know if this phrase will translate as well, but I describe any release from Girvan that we've done ever really as like drinking boozy butter. So like butter for like at Christmas when you have like brandy butter and that kind of thing. It's like a really mellow version of that, and it's just so nice, and it's really delicate as well. And with it, almost like creme brulee notes as well, which it gives it that lovely sweetness and that vanilla note. But underneath it all, you have that gorgeous toffee and honey note as well. And the distillery itself is, I love it. I don't think many people would have had selfies outside a distillery like this, but there's me that's like, yeah, bash, that's cool. And I've only ever visited it once, and it was really cool. It's proper industry, like shiny kind of steel and aluminium everywhere. And it was really nice actually.
Yeah, I'd love to go for a visit. It's a little bit off the road where people go usually. It's on south a bit of Glasgow, but yeah, I think I will add it on my next trip to go.
It's on the same site actually. I don't know if you can see it on the image. On the same site is the Ailsa Bay Distillery. And it's really nice place and beautiful part of the world as well. Around the corner from there is the Ailsa Craig Bay, which is just stunning. Really nice.
And you talked about the size, just to give people an idea. The biggest distillery, pot still distillery, they produce like 25 million liters.
Yeah.
And Gervin is more than 100 million liters per year. So it's like 5-6 times bigger than the bigger pot still distilleries. So it's definitely very big.
And 99% of that goes into blends.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is incredible, isn't it? Like it's so I think it's Glenfiddich's the biggest producer now, 24.5 million liters.
Yeah.
And everyone on the planet has heard of Glenfiddich. Whereas, as you rightly said, these guys 5 times bigger nearly, and pretty much no one's ever heard of them.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Exactly. So yeah, that's really nice to have a chance to taste that grain whiskey. And it's 16 years old. As for sure, the grain whiskey has a bit less flavor at the beginning, but it takes very well with the barrel, and then develop some taste there. So I imagine also that's why you have like older grain whiskey in your portfolio.
Yeah, we grain whiskey starts to get really good from about 12 years old and upwards. Younger than that, it can be a little bit weak flavor wise, but near enough always when it hits 12, it starts to go amazing. We've got grain whiskey in the warehouse actually up to the age of, I think, 34, maybe 35 years old now. So that's a lot of our older stock is grain actually, and it only gets better.
Awesome. And they don't get after like 16 years, and it's the first fill bourbon barrel, you said?
Yeah.
It don't bring too much of the wood in there. It's not too spicy.
No, grain whiskey, it just doesn't, because it's such a slower maturation. It doesn't get that full whack of it, if that makes sense. It is very much, it takes on that mellow complexity, like the Invergordon 20-year-old. Actually, I normally have one nearby as well. The Invergordon anyway is it was in the Oloroso sherry cask for 2 full decades, and it is so light. Like, it's almost as light as it's probably a lot lighter than that one actually, which is pretty light in its own right. But the flavor is unbelievable. It just didn't take much of the color, whereas this one has actually taken a decent chunk of color with it actually, which is quite nice.
Nice. So another one to add on the list for me. Okay, good. And then Glenrothes. So we know more about this one. We have in Quebec. We had the chance to had some bottlings. Less available these days, but this one is 11 years old. Yeah, talk to me about this a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So Glenrothes, also an ex-bourbon cask, and we with Glenrothes, it's an interesting distillery because also it's not open to the public. You can, I think, occasionally twice a year they do open it, but generally it's not, which is really strange because when you do go, like we've been invited up there a couple of times, it's perfect as a visitor center to walk around. The tasting room's incredible. Everything just works. And it's really lovely. I wish they did open it. I think people would really enjoy it. But the location of it is stunning. I mean, you can see the water source literally going under the bridge there, right past the distillery. And the flavor profile from it is always really clean, really just proper Speyside Scotch whiskey. And it's what you think of when you think of like amazing Speyside. And this one being from the bourbon cask, it's super beautiful. Obviously it's clean, beautiful whiskey, but all about those fruity notes. So orchard fruits, that big lemon character, that apples and pears, and like kind of vanilla cream kind of notes coming through as well. It's one to sit back and just be like, it's nice and relaxing after a long day of doing whatever you do, or spirit sampling, whatever. It's really cool from a distillery that we've been lucky to visit, I think twice. And each time I've been blown away. They actually have a room in there at the front of one of the warehouses that they have these glass bottles. I think they're called demijohns, but they're like glass bottles with the like ring on each side, like you see on the old in pirate movies. You know, the guys just drink from it. In each of those, you just look at it and they don't look like anything. They're dusty. They're dark whiskey. Like, okay, what's that? And I asked the guy who was hosting us last time, and he said, "How many can you count now?" That one was 12. Like, that was easy. Well done. And they goes, right, those 12 demijohns together are worth over £1 million. Like,
whoa. Yeah.
From 1966, and they had to take it out of the barrel because it was nearly hitting the 40% ABV mark, and they hadn't found a use for them yet. I'm like, well, I just have one if that's fine.
Yeah.
It was bonkers. We did actually open one later on in the day, and
really nice.
Tried it, and it was magical. But yeah, it's a really fun distillery, but one that I think people have heard of. They've got their own range, although, like you said, it's not actually that prominent anymore. Where there was a period where it was, and it was a beautiful bottle as well. Actually, I really liked what they did with that. But you don't really see it that much. I don't know why, but you don't see it that much anymore. And for us, it's just that quintessential classic Speyside character.
Nice. Yeah, the bottle was like this small, like bulb or something.
Like a little glass grenade.
Yeah, exactly. I still have few of them right there.
Good man.
Yeah, exactly. And we have the other one, the fifth one that is also something we had a little bit in Quebec a few years ago. I don't even know if it's still listed at the SAQ or not, but something that we don't hear a lot neither, Royal Brackla. So yeah, go ahead and talk about this a little bit.
So I know I've said this about all of them, but this is also one of my favorite distilleries. I mean it. Like we only really work with distilleries that I really love and Kirsty really loves, and because it gives us an easy way of being able to talk about it and a passion. Like if you love something, it's way easier than trying to fake it, right? So with this one, it is so cool. So it's owned by the actual distillery is owned by Bacardi, and it's run under their whiskey division under John Dewar and Sons. We can see the logo in the background there. For the actual distillery range, I think it entered market, as in the first one was released in 2012, and then since then it did very well. But mostly now you'll see it in Asia and those parts of the world, because that's kind of where the bigger customer base for it was. I think it is in different parts, obviously, everywhere, but the vast amount will be sent over there, I'd imagine. But their range is very, very much about sherry casks. And the spirit that comes off the stills here works unbelievably well with sherry casks. Ex-bourbon, it's fine. It's still very, very nice, obviously. But when you put the Royal Brackla spirit into an Oloroso or a PX, wow, it just changes the game, and it's off the charts good. And we own, I think, 2 casks from Royal Brackla, and this one's an 11-year-old Oloroso sherry cask matured one, and we love it, but it's very rare to see in the independent bottler kind of circuit that this cask comes up. Like, we don't see it often from brokers at all. It's often used as its trade name, which is Cawdor Springs. So every distillery has 2 names. I'm sure you guys are familiar with this, but every one of them has 2 different names. Like Lefroy in the trade, it's called Williamson. This one's Cawdor Springs, etc. So you'll often see Cawdor around, but to have full naming rights for Royal Brackla, very rare. So when we had the opportunity, it was like, oh, yes, please. And then so then we put it into the sherry for, I think it's been in the sherry for near enough its entire maturation now, which is pretty cool as well. We released one from this distillery as our Christmas special release 2 years ago, and it had been matured in a Chateau Margaux red wine cask, which was pretty nice as well. This one, the place, again, it's not one that many people visit, and you can't really see the distillery from the road because there's a huge warehouse right on the road blocking the view of the distillery.
Yeah.
But bizarrely, it's also one of the most eco-friendly distilleries in Scotland.
Okay.
It's incredible where they've got all the different kind of post-production like waste that you'd get from a distilling process. All gets put through these amazing machines they've got there that turns it into like cattle feed or recycles the water or does all this kind of mad stuff. So there is literally zero waste in production. Really quite impressive, actually. And then out the front, there's a duck pond. And so the last time I visited, it was quite cold, probably summer, but quite cold. It's in Scotland. And the whole pond was iced over. And so I was just there, just taking photos of the distillery as I do. The guys who were with me were just walking off chatting. And for some reason, I was just watching the ducks. I quite like ducks. But when I was watching one just fly over, I was like, that duck doesn't know what it's doing. And so I just, almost by accident, just had the camera on it. And then it just stopped in the air. I was like, what's happening here? And then it seems like it was like on its first flight. It started flapping. And the more it flapped, the quicker it went down and went through the ice. And if you ever look at the newest Royal Brackler packaging from their range, their actual range, not ours, theirs, on the left-hand side of the crest, there's a duck kind of like that. And that was after I was telling the guys who run the brand the story and sent them the video. They loved it and put it on there as a little tribute.
Nice.
So, yeah, it was pretty cool.
I'm going to check that for sure on the new bottle.
Yeah, and now every time you see it, you'll be like, "Oh, I know that duck."
That's nice. So yeah, another one to put on the list. I confirm I will buy the 5 of them.
There we go.
Here they are, the 5 of them. So yeah, so that's pretty nice. In fact, it's really interesting to have the chance to taste these products. We don't have a chance a lot to taste these distilleries in Quebec. In other countries, maybe it's easier to get some independent bottlers or to get some products they want, but here in Quebec, it's pretty complicated. So
sure,
it's nice.
And these have never been released anywhere else, by the way. You guys will be the first people having it when we do the run for these.
Awesome. And also, just for the people who look at the screen right now, you see that there's a Passion Whisky Québec logo on the bottles. It's just an example of the label. So we will work with Greg to have the official label, and probably with the name or the logo of Passion Whisky Québec also on the bottle. So it's something else on top of that. Awesome. So I'm looking at the questions. I think we went through pretty much everything through our conversation anyway. And time flies. It's already 40 minutes.
Look at that. See, I literally will just talk about whiskey until someone tells me to stop.
Yeah, I can do that too for hours. So yeah, we will have to stop ourselves. So yeah, so again, I would say it was a great pleasure to have you on this conversation.
Pleasure was mine.
Nice to have you for the first time, probably not the last one. And when we get the bottles, maybe we can have another quick chat and maybe have a small discussion or tasting online with the group as well.
100%. Yeah, more than happy to do that.
Awesome, great. So so I would say hi to Kirsty from Quebec, from Passion Whisky Québec.
I will indeed, sir. Thank you.
And thank you very much again for your time with us. It's really appreciated.
No worries.
And for people here who are looking for the group orders, it's still open for a few days on the Passion Whisky Québec website. So again, thank you very much, everyone. Merci beaucoup tout le monde. Si vous avez des questions entre-temps, n'hésitez pas aussi à les envoyer par email ou sur la page Facebook. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you. Speak soon, Eric. Cheers.
Bye.